Hi, my name's Dr. Nick and I'm the Incrementalist and I'm a whiskey librarian. For tonight's tipple, we're going to be heading over to Lagavulin. This is a distillery that was founded back in 1812. It was formed originally as two distilleries. They merged into one and has gone through some interesting times. It's very renowned for its pear-shaped distillation flasks, and it's also renowned for the slow distillation process that they believe imparts a very specific kind of flavor. But the other thing that you'll notice about this distillery and its taste profile is its similarity to some of the other distilleries that are in the area. And in fact, it tried to copy many years ago, or at least it's believed to try and copy, the Lagavulin distillery. And in fact, there was a little bit of a legal battle over that, but that was resolved. But if you wonder when you taste these whiskies that they're a little bit similar, that's part of the reason. They're in the same area. They're drawing from similar water sources, but what you'll find with Lagavulin is it's different to Lagavulin and also different to some of the others. And the peat as well is different in that particular area. So this week we're focusing on the 16-year-old. That's really a classic bottle. It's a classic that you'll find on many shelves, and really for those of you that are looking to find a whiskey that represents everything that you would expect to find from the Islay region, this really represents that kind of taste profile. You'll notice that this bottle is not unopened. It's certainly been regular in my collection and my taste, but I thought it was important before it got finished that we should taste it and share some of those experiences. So the first thing we'll do is pour our whiskey into our tasting goblet, designed specifically to allow us to look at the color. You can see that that's not as dark as some of the colors that you would see in the sherried casks. Now that we've poured it, what's the first thing that we do? Well, we swill it around, make sure we release as much of that aroma as possible. Stick our noses in, smell it. And what do you get from that? Well, there's clearly the smoke, the peat, the iodine. You can feel like you're actually in that bay, looking and sensing the peaty smokiness that you would expect from a Lagavulin. But what else do you get? There's certainly some sweetness. I can feel a little bit of maple syrup coming through. Now, what about the palate? Truly a delightful whiskey. Classic taste. It would be in anybody's whiskey cabinet that wants to really sense the classical Islay smoky peatiness of Scottish malt whiskey. You can taste the peat. There's certainly the iodine that's very classical for this area. And as one of my friends would say, if it doesn't taste with this kind of a profile, then it's not really a whiskey. I beg to differ. I think there are plenty of whiskeys that don't have that smokiness and tarry kind of flavor. But this is really a classic whiskey. The other thing I get, certainly some burnt bananas. And then the interesting thing here is you would expect it to have a longer finish, but in fact it's really light, and with alcohol running at about 44%, it doesn't give you that burn that some people dislike out of whiskey. It's very smooth, but a very short finish. There's a little bit of sweetness there, I think, maybe some cinnamon elements, and again that smoky iodine flavor. So one final word about whiskey tasting and water. One of the things that I hear repeatedly is people arguing about whether you should or you should not add water. Here's my particular trick for this. So rather than adding it from a jug and drowning the whiskey, one of the things that I would say is that you don't want to have too much water. You don't want to drown it, but you can add a little bit. So I have this little dropper, it controls it. I can add in a tiny bit of water, and certainly for the stronger whiskies and the cask strength, that's important because it will release more of the flavor, brings the alcohol down to a slightly more palatable level for some people. Again, horses for courses. If you don't want to, don't do it. But if you do, you'll get a slightly different flavor profile. It will release a little bit more of different tastes and different experiences. So if you want to add some water, that's okay to do. Finally, what I would say about this whiskey, if you think about a cold winter's evening, this is a classic whiskey to sit by the fire, warm you up. You'd feel like, winter is coming, but it's okay. The ice walkers are not going to impact you because you have a glass of Lagavulin 16-year-old. I'll say sláinte. This is Dr. Nick. I'm the Incrementalist and a whiskey librarian.